Hi everyone, this is Josh Kulp. We are learning Daf Shui. We are on Daf Tet Vav of Masechet Betzah. And I want to talk about a very interesting subject, the Sandal HaMisumar, the nailed sandal, which appears twice in the Mishnah. Once in Masechet Shabbat, which says somebody should not go out on Shabbat wearing a nailed sandal, a Sandal HaMisumar. And our Mishnah in Masechet Betzah, which says that one should not send a Sandal HaMisumar to as a gift to other people on Shabbat. And I wanted to talk about several aspects of this nailed sandal. First of all, the nailed sandal seems to be, historically speaking, a type of cleat worn by Roman soldiers. In Latin, I believe it was called the Caligula, which is the name of a despised Roman emperor who was known in Jewish lore and historically, I think it's accurate, for setting up a idol in the temple in Jerusalem. And so these were Roman military sandals. And the big kind of question that comes up here is the sources say that this is prohibited on Shabbat and it's prohibited to send it on Yom Tov. And yet there's a tradition in both the Bavli and in the Yerushalmi that these sandals should not be worn at all, even during the week. So first of all, let's take the basic stuff for Shabbat and Betzah. I think there are two potential reasons. One is a potential halachic reason, and the other is a more general reason. The halachic reason, like the Bavli says in Shabbat, lest you dig a hole in the ground. The Yerushalmi talks about maybe one would remove these in the public domain and come to carry the shoe. But I think there may be a deeper, let's say, less technical halachic reason not to wear these on Shabbat and Yom Tov, and that these are military work shoes. Under one of the underpinnings of the laws of Shabbat and Yom Tov are that you're not supposed to be doing work, or not supposed to even look like you're doing work. And if these were originally work shoes, it makes perfect sense why people shouldn't be wearing them on Shabbat. Now, both the Bavli and the Yerushalmi provide evidence that the sages eventually thought that these shoes should never be worn. And they give narrative reasons. The Bavli's famous story in Masechet Shabbat is that one time Jews were hiding in caves, and one of them went out. They were hiding from Romans in caves. One of them went out and then came back in, and the people in the cave thought it was a Roman soldier, and they got all afraid, and because they were wearing these dangerous sandals, they ended up killing each other with their dangerous sandals. The Yerushalmi says women would see the sandals, these nailed sandals, these Caligulas, and be so frightened by them that they would miscarry. But I think, again, there's probably a deeper reasoning lying behind these stories, and that is that these sandals became associated with Roman footwear, with despised Roman soldiers. And as happens often in many cultures, people want to use their clothing, their shoes, their outer appearance to distinguish themselves from their enemies. I think you can see this all over the world. And eventually the Sandal HaMisumar, particularly if it was named the Caligula. I mean, I don't like to make these comparisons, but imagine there was a piece of clothing that was it became in Germany, and it was like a normal piece of clothing the Jews wore, but eventually it became called the Hitler. I can't imagine that, like, let's say a necktie, but it was, I'm just making something up. Imagine it became called the Hitler. Or today, a piece of clothing that was normally worn became called the Sinwar or the Hamas. Jews, Israelis wouldn't want to wear these things, even though they used to, because they're associated with the enemy. So I think that's a little bit what happens with a nailed sandal. I think it's interesting to see how pieces of clothing, artifacts, human useful items become associated with certain cultures and therefore become anathema to enemy cultures. A process that happens even to this day.